Chapter 1. The Queuing System. Shit. I looked down and realised one thing. I've forgotten to change my electric scooter. It looks like it's going to rain, and I'm miles away from work. Shit. I hate public transport. The instructions said fold away in 3 easy steps. Like hell. In 5 years, I've yet to fold it down at the same condition I bought it in. I lug the heavy machine in my bag along with my work stuff and trundle along the road as the rain begins to spit down. Knew today I should have worked from home. British people are known for many things. Stiff upper lip, enjoyment of tea and sandwiches without crusts, over-pronunciation of words and syllables, and of course, queuing. I'm sure we invented it, or if we didn't, I'm sure it's been rewritten that way. Nowadays, queues are a little bit different. As I grab the handle on the stairwell, I already know that's going to get flagged. Contaminated hand. Did you know a handrail in the London Underground is touched by over 1 million people a day? None of which probably care they've picked up the latest bacterial infection. In the past I didn't care much, but when you work for the government it's flagged. My eyes dart around when I finish the steps to locate the only antibacterial dispenser currently in use. He's my age, I guess, scraggly hair. He looks homeless and holding a small plastic container, squeezing whatever is in the dispenser carefully into his possession. I'd say for a man who doesn't appear to wash much, he has a wide range of hand sanitizers in his duffel bag that doesn't remain closed. The security guard moves over, shoos him off, and I already know I'm going to be late if I wait around. Queues are now formed into identity markers: age, sex, ethnicity, country of origin, sexual orientation. Depending on these factors depends where you're herded. Most vulnerable people get herded out first. Anyone who is retired isn't likely to get on without a permit and a visa. Both need to be stamped, and even then depends on the mood of the attendant. If they're having a bad day, your day is definitely not going to be pleasant. They have cattle railings to separate us as we walk through the first scanner. It's not 100% effective, but can detect most critical and at-risk infections. Part of everyone in the queue hopes the person in front is negative. You definitely don't want to be in the underground in a lockdown. Hazmat suits, masks, anti-bac powder. Stings if you get it in your eyes, and you lose a day's work and pay unless you fill in the forms. Lots of forms. I pass through the white machine swirling with a green smiley face advising to have a nice day. The hand isn't serious. I could also be very lucky. I just know I'm closer to work, so that's more important. Your index finger gets used to the process. The prick doesn't hurt as much anymore. Enough to test, and with seconds your genes are scrutinised for any underlying illnesses that could cause issue with travel. I must confess I am lucky to have healthy genes, however an underlying obsession with fine dining and the odd glass of wine. Not enough to be declared obese by government statistics, but enough to know the allocated seat space in public transport is a bit tight. The final queue is a desk and a guard. I rummage for my ID card. The guy in front's brown leather case knocks mine. He turns and gives the facial gesture for sorry. I respond with, "That's fine." You don't speak to people on transport. I don't know if it's a health benefit, social distancing, or just nobody likes it. I guess the only thing to talk about would be the weather, and I say the weather is always shit. Barring that one heat wave, but I can't remember if it was this year or last year. Not really important, I guess. Jenny, a badge says. She definitely wasn't born as a Jenny. She looks at my badge, then me. She nods and hands the ID back while scrubbing her gloves. It's inefficient to waste gloves. The ID badge slides into a small slot. It's disinfected. It charges my bank with the train fare and pops out the other end smelling of alcohol and shimmering the 3D image of me that was taken a few months back. As I finally get to the platform, Mr. Brown Leather Case clocks me and smiles. I don't want to talk about the weather. I avoid eye contact just in case and move further down, expecting my train to arrive in 1 minute and 94 seconds. I remember a time when you'd be crowded with others, sharing the same space with various people and no room to move. Now we're a few metres, but I can still hear the 3 girls chatting and notice I should have stayed with Brown Leather Case Man. Anything than prepubescent kids and their parents who use technology to nanny them on long trips, then actually leaves them at home until they're socially awkward and quiet in public. The sound of teenage screams and laughter is all you can hear as the train pulls in and the doors open. People don't stand anymore. There are allocated seating, each separated by a plastic screen. It deters conversations and contamination. I still think of my hand. My antibacterial gel is in the office. The plastic screen doesn't stop the girls talking, but the masks over their face does muffle it somewhat. I don't want to tell them the masks do nothing for infection when the noses are exposed, but then I like the partial quiet and muffles. The air smells sterile. I don't really notice people often, but across the carriage as it sets off is a guy in black. Around his neck a white cracked-up crystal, his nose pierced, earpods in, chewing on some kind of vegan gum. Herbalists. I heard they exist, but never assumed I'd see one. He notices me staring. I change my focus on the passing walls, on the dark outgrowth of the underworld tube line. There was an article online about what to know about herbalists. They very rarely use medically sound advice. Only naturally based products, unauthorized tattoos and facial markings, often pale from the lack of sufficient nutrients, vegan, usually sexually fluid, don't believe in medicines and vaccinations, often don't live past 30, live in disused buildings in groups, never use public transport. Well, they got the last one wrong. Although I can't move in the seat, I do move my body as oppositely away from him as possible. I'm sure the other facts are wrong, but you can never be too careful. Above his head is a sign. Catch it, bin it, kill it, report it. Seems fitting he's sat underneath it. If he sneezes, though, I'm done for. We stop at 3 stops. Each one a few fills up seats, others exit. I'm lucky enough of the unwritten rule. Most men kind of knew it in toilet situations. Now it's more or less socially adopted. Unless in extreme cases, most people sit with a gap of a seat between each other. Though the plastic partitions are there for our safety and comfort, we very rarely sit beside someone unless we are family members or there is literally no other seats in any other compartment. The same applies in the bathroom. At the 3rd stop, Mr. Brown Leather Bagman leaves and passes the window. He looks in and smiles. Why would he smile? My eyes pierce through him at the poster behind. Inoculate today. At work we have our routine injections. A happy workforce is one that is immunised, saves on sick leave and quarantine. Sitting at home for 7 to 14 days before being allocated back into fresh air and the comforts of an office can take its toll on the best of people. A guy can go crazy in quarantine, though you never admit it. The train breaks away at a slower pace. They're shutting down another line. Where once was darkness, you see the men and women cutting, demolishing and concreting various areas of the track, the sparks dancing like fireworks on the underground. Band on the surface, but down here some light show than a small and dirty torches on their heads. All of them wear masks, poor things. They're contributing to society. Someone has to. On the far back wall, the sparks illuminate one thing that stands out as I look. Graffiti. Not just anything, something. I see it and I don't acknowledge it. The raven is watching, flashes and disappears as the train moves by. This is my stop. Getting out of the station is easier than entering. Everyone follows like cows being moved out to be sold or slaughtered. Single line, the machine at the end, an added guard with gun for our protection. I'm not sure what from. This area is the government. I swipe my card through, it goes green and the doors open. The air is crisp, people march by with umbrellas open even though the small droplets of rain have subsided. On the corner the guy in black is pressed against the wall, arms and legs spread, 2 officers chatting to him, a gun fixed on his back. I hurry on by, I can't be late, I have a record to uphold. You still jump at the shots, only 2. They'd say he was a terrorist or a plaguer. They'd say he resisted interrogation. They'd say anything and they'd be right. There's no place for a herbalist in the government quadrant. He must have known that. It's only round the corner from the station, the tall glass building. It was once an impressive piece of architecture. I'm sure it holds a few records, or at least did. Now it holds over 100 government officials, the officers of the Ministry of Communication. It starts with small barriers, the herding process, the queuing system. Government official, 25 to 50, male, white, British. They don't have a queue for orientation. Nobody with a different sexual orientation works in the ministry. Nobody that is out there.